And we're finally live. Sorry I'm not live at the time I normally am live. I ended up having some technical difficulties trying to get my stuff together, so I'm so sorry if that was an issue. So I unfortunately have to use the Logos app over on my what's it called? Oh my gosh, my browser instead because I have some issues here. So we're just gonna get started. I'm so sorry again for that. Sorry I had a moment there, I don't know where I am just because I was trying to figure this out for a good 10 minutes here almost. So let's just get started. I'm gonna say a quick prayer before. I'll make sure to get the Bible on screen. So, dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing me again to be live for a whole nother episode. This has been so amazing just to bless everybody with this book of Job. I really love it so much. It's been a lot of fun sharing it with everybody, Lord. So I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this with everybody. And I pray in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get started. I'm going to put the Bible on screen here. Not that small. Perfect. So last time we picked up, we were in, I'm going to try to find it. My notes are not synced here, so let me just find the correct note because I had the correct note, I thought. My notes are kind of all over the place in here because I did this separately one day and this is not proper. I'm just going to do my Job 20. It's Job 26. So yeah, I am not prepared. And of course, my notes are not loading. This is great, guys. We're just going to have to go cold turkey here, which is good because I already know what I'm going to say for this verse. So we'll start by reading it. He stretches out the north over the void and hangs the earth on nothing. He binds up the waters in his thick clouds, and the clouds is not spilt open under them. He covers the face of the moon and spreads over his clouds. He inscribed a circle on the face of the waters at the boundary between light and darkness. So what's very interesting, and I'm going to try to get my notes to load because I thought I had some pretty good notes here, guys. I'll start by mentioning a little bit about the verse. But let me just pull my notes up here if possible. I wish I had a guess, guys. And I got to find my notes. I don't even know. Okay, here we go. My notes are loading here, so let me just try to pull up my notes right there. Okay, here we go. So here's my note. I'll just read it this way. This should be fine. Let's see if I can just make it full screen. Awesome. Okay, so here, first off, when we're reading this verse, it's insane that the Bible even mentions that the earth is hung on nothing. That in itself is just crazy because think about it. The earth literally isn't hung on anything. It's just suspended there in space. And it's crazy how they didn't even have telescopes and they're doing that. It's just insane that they have no telescopic technology, no nothing, literally. And they're able to say that the earth is hung on nothing. So it says here, north over void, earth on nothing. Space is a vacuum. The void is like space, mostly empty. Gravity holds the earth. Earth isn't hanging by a physical object like a string, like I said before. Instead, gravity from the sun and other celestial bodies keeps it in its orbit. So, in that sense, it's hanging on nothing physical, which is true, as I just mentioned before. And I just, honestly, this verse always gets me because I'm thinking to myself, wow, the Bible literally is saying that the earth is hung on nothing without any, like I said before, astronomy or any telescopic technology. They're just able to understand this, which is in absolute sanity to me. I'm just wow. So the next one, it says in verse 8, it says, he binds up the waters in his thick clouds. So it says, water in clouds don't break. Water vapor condenses. Clouds hold tiny water droplets or ice crystals. And then surface tension, these droplets are small and held together by surface tension and air pressure, preventing the cloud from instantly collapsing. So think about just this whole process as a whole. Like a God, something above us has to be able to have created that. Just this whole entire cycle is just absolutely insane. Thinking of the littlest thing about preventing the clouds from instantly collapsing. Like you could say, okay, evolution or, oh, Big Bang Theory, but in that in itself, who has to start that theory? Because something had to have started all that because everything is just too perfect, just down to the tiniest detail. It's absolutely perfect. Now it covers the moon with clouds, clouds block light. Clouds are made of water particles that can obscure the view of the moon. And then here in verse 10, circle on water, light/dark boundary, horizon is a circle. From any point on the earth, the horizon where the sky meets the waters or land appears as a circle. And then it says day/night line. This line, the terminator, is where daylight transitions to darkness as the Earth rotates. It's not a fixed circle on the water, but a moving line around the globe. So I don't have a picture of a globe, and I don't believe I can bring that up here in my thing, even though I'm on a browser. But I will say, I don't know if you've seen Google Maps, or not even just Google Maps, Google Earth is what I'm trying to say. If you use Google Earth and you kind of like look at the Earth, it actually almost has like that line in the middle. It's kind of cool. I've seen it where it will show like half of the globe is dark and then half the globe is light. So like right now, I'm trying to think what time it would be in, like somewhere like South Africa, like JD from the show. I guess it's probably still daytime where he's at. But if you're thinking about somewhere on the opposite side of the world, if you're from like America, Canada, anywhere like from that area where I am, it's basically going to be light now. It's light out right now, unless it's like cloudy or rainy. But again, it's light out. And on the opposite side of the world, it's going to be dark, which is kind of cool. So definitely go check that out if you've never done it. Google Earth is pretty cool. Get the one for your actual computer, like the Mac version. It's pretty awesome. All right, so we're going to move on to the next verse. And we're going to scroll down and see where we get here. All right, so now we're here in Job 28. See if it syncs. Okay, so Job 28, verse 1 says, surely there is a mine for silver and a place for gold that they refine. So automatically hearing the word mine, I'm thinking Minecraft. I just saw the movie, so I know a lot about just mining from Minecraft. I don't know if you're like me, if you know all your mining skills from Minecraft, pretty cool. But what does it mean where it says silver mines exist? Geology confirms that silver occurs naturally in the Earth's crust and is extracted through mining. So that's where we're going to get our silver. Gold deposits are refined. Gold is also found in the earth and requires refining process to remove impurities and obtain pure gold, which is very interesting that all these, even things like gold, we have obviously silver, is found within the earth. And I find it interesting that even the Bible recognizes that. And you're going to say, well, they probably went mining and they found silver and they found gold. I'm sure that they were able to do some form of mining back then. But still, even like, for example, the Earth's crust is extracted through mining. Even just knowing that it occurs naturally in the Earth's crust, like how did they know that? How do the people who are living in this time where the book of Job has been written, how would they know all this deep information without having all that geology information that a geologist would actually have? Because they're not geologists. Just like they're not meteorologists, they're not astronomers, they're not marine biologists, they're not biologists, right? They're just human beings living their life, and they're understanding all this stuff, this isn't even the part where, I don't believe this is the part yet where God is talking back to Job. I don't believe that this part is that yet. So I find it very interesting, but we'll get to that part. I don't know if we'll get to it in this episode or not, but it might be very interesting. So I just find that to be interesting. And honestly, that's the most interesting part about doing this series, is seeing all the science inside of the Bible and realizing that. And I just want to say a quick shout out to the 3 people that I see over on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us here on Instagram. If you want to be more active in the comment section, you can head over to YouTube, same username. Okay, so we're going to go on and we're going to read a little more. There's more in this chapter. Cool. Okay. So right here in Job chapter 28, verse 4, which there's a lot here, and of course it's picking up all the spelling mistakes. As for the earth, out of it comes bread. You're saying, wait, there comes bread out of the earth? Well, we'll get to that. But underneath it is turned up as by fire. Its stones are the place of sapphires, and it has dust of gold. So bread from the earth underneath, like fire, agriculture. Food bread comes from the cultivation of earth's soil. So again, you're going to say, well, that sounds inaccurate. I know a lot of atheists might come at this verse and be like, well, you can't get bread. I can't just dig up some bread. Of course you can't dig up bread, but think about yeast, where you get yeast from, right? All these different things. In order to make bread, you got to get it from the earth. Which, who gave us the earth? God. Wonderful. Okay, now volcanic activity / earth's heat. Deep beneath the surface, there is an intense heat and molten rock, magma, which can be associated with volcanic activity. And then in verse 6, stones with sapphires, dust of gold, gemstone formation. Sapphires are formed under the specific geological conditions involving heat and pressure within the Earth's crust. They are found embedded in certain types of rocks. Now, gold distribution, gold can occur as fine particles, dust, within rocks and sediment. So again, this stuff is absolutely insane to me. Again, about the Earth's crust and just what it was able to know about that. How is the person who wrote the book of Job, and I am not 100% sure who wrote the book of Job, so I'm not going to make conclusions here. You can Google that for yourself, and I will too. But the person who has written the book of Job, even Job himself, living through this time, which is insane to me that they are going to understand geology as we see it here. It's literally perfect geology, which is insane. So we have a little bit of time, so we're going to read verse 7 and 8. I might be able to get to verse 9 and 10, but we'll see. I try to go about 15 minutes to about 17 minutes, really. So we're just going to continue on here. So in verse 7, we read, that path no bird of prey knows. So bird of prey could be like a falcon, and it's going to mention that here. And the falcon's eye has not seen it. The proud beasts have not trodden it. The lion has not passed over it. So in verse 7 and 8, the path unknown to birds and beasts, vein and deposits. These verses are likely metaphorical, referring to the hidden and inaccessible nature of mineral veins and ore deposits deep underground before they are discovered by humans. Again, how they even know that stuff is even able to be discovered. Crazy. Birds and animals wouldn't naturally encounter these. Yeah, obviously. But again, a lot of it is also going to be a little bit metaphorical here. But even like the path no bird of prey knows, if we go up here a little bit, we tie it into the verse before. Obviously, a bird of prey is not going to know how to get a sapphire, and obviously, because again, a bird of prey is going to be way up here. So again, that is still scientifically accurate because it's not saying that the bird of prey knows where the sapphire is, which obviously it wouldn't, because the bird of prey is too concerned on getting prey. Obviously, like let's say a falcon or a hawk, it's too concerned about finding its next squirrel, its next rabbit, anything else it's going to find out there. So we're going to now read verse 9 and 10. I guess we can do that. Pretty cool. All right. So in verse 9, it says, man put his hand to the flinty rock and overturns the mountain by roots. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eyes see very precious thing. He dams up the streams so that they do not trickle, and the thing that is hidden he brings out to light. Now here in verse 9, man to flinty rock overturn mountains, mining and quarrying. Humans use tools and techniques to break through hard rock like flint and can significantly alter landscapes through mining operations, even to the scale of moving mountains. And then here for verse 10, it says, cuts channel in rocks, sees precious things, exploration and extraction. Mining involves creating tunnels and shafts to access mineral deposits. Skilled miners can identify valuable minerals within the rock formations. I'm going to say I'm a pretty skilled miner in Minecraft. I'm just kidding. I haven't played in a long time. But again, join the TCM Minecraft server if you want. Okay, so that is not sponsored. I just think that's funny. Okay, so yeah, I think it's very interesting again about them going on and talking about the rocks and how it's able to, how they are able to really go and do that. And even for years, I'm sure they were mining and finding things. Humans always found a way, right? If there's a will, there's a way. They're definitely getting out there and doing that, which is super cool. And I know I always go back to this because a lot of people will say, well, that's just observation. Sure, a lot of it is observation if they've been mining themselves and they want to write down what they've mined for. But even just like we talked about the Earth's core and the stuff that's inside the Earth, they're not that advanced yet in science. We look at it from a 2025 mindset where we have these miners, geologists, Minecrafters, people who know a little bit about mining. But back then, they didn't know what we know today. So it's very interesting that they would even understand all of this information here. So I think I'm going to end it here. I know it's a little earlier than normal, but I don't want to get into another one and get going for a little longer here. I'm going to put some stuff up on the screen as always. And if you guys have any questions, even over on Instagram, you can type them out on Instagram or here on YouTube. I'm going to bring up my banner here that I always have right here. So if you have any questions and you do not have access to the comment section, you can email me here with any questions about this episode or any other episode. If you have missed any of the other episodes, go check them out. They're in a playlist over on YouTube. And as always, if you'd like to learn more about the book of Job in a deeper way, I have a couple books out. One of them specifically does discuss the book of Job in a really big detail. So if you definitely want to check out some of my books, the Amazon link is in my profile over on Instagram and here on YouTube. So if you want to go check that out, just hit my bio. It's right there. You get all the books and you guys can go check that out. I'm going to now just put myself full screen. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. I will be back next week and every week until we complete the book of Job. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and peace be with you.